On this week's episode, Hawkeye gets a not so surprising visitor. Time to retell a West Side Story. And do we have the power of the dog? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review. Just doing a little 5-star jam here on Apple Podcasts.
Those are impressive jazzercise moves, man.
Absolutely. 1, 2, 5 star, 5-star, 5-star. Yes, 5-star, star. And if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, Vampires, and Vitae. Gotta get your fangs ready for that one.
That was a beard.
No, it's the fangs trying to sink deep into the neck of my next victim. What an event to suck your blood. Brrr.
We never sound like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure that's why I've not been invited to.
Yeah, right?
I can do good voices, though. I swear.
You can. I know. I've heard some.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But if you can't support any of these great causes, plus go ahead and also support us at popculturecosmos.com and everything that we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, because we are the #1 tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook, including the awesome Vampires and Vitae. Plus, we've got games almost all week long. In fact, the weekend is covered with DM Mitch. Roger's got you on Monday. Then you've got Rom on Tuesday, Melinda on Wednesday. And I'll tell you what, it's just really, really going strong with our tabletop RPG streams. And I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of the DMs, because you do a tremendous job. And I look forward to doing more great things with all of each and every one of you in the new year. So if you can support any of these great causes, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. She is our own mistress of the universe when it comes to Vampires and Vitae, Warlocks and Whiskey. There you go, Wizards and Wine. Mm-hmm. All these great games you can find today at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook or wherever you get your podcasts. It is my good friend. It is Belinda Barkhouse Ross. I gotta get the Ross in there.
Yeah, it's okay. There was a reason for the hyphenation, and that was largely it. Barkhouse Ross. They both work, so you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross.
Yes.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Have you started Christmas shopping?
December, busy. Holiday shopping, doing that final gift giving, signing out all those Christmas cards, and, sending it out there, getting stamps on there, and sending it out to everyone out there just to show that we actually know that they exist on this planet and remind them, hey, once a year we send it out to you. All right, we know you exist out there. All right, looks good. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and all that good stuff. So, yes, busy week indeed. But I'll tell you what, it's still a good time for pop culture. I know a lot of lists have started to pop up for the best of 2021. So I know that they're out there. I know we'll be doing here in a not too distant future our best of 2021. So look forward to that. I know I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, Melinda, we're going to get together at some point in time and talk about exactly how we want to structure it over the next maybe 2-3 weeks. We'll see what happens there, but it is the best of 2021. It's coming to Pop Culture Cosmos. I'm going to do the same with Josh as well. I also want to mention that if you're listening to this on the podcast and radio outlets, you can check out the results, if you missed it, of the Game Awards. We'll have a link to the award winners that comes up on Thursday night. So you want to go ahead and check that out on the best of the best. We had that discussion on Monday. Are they truly the best of the best that's out there that's being represented? We talked about that on Monday, but yes, the Game Awards will be going ahead, and you'll know the winners of the Game Awards at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. But it's going to be a great episode, Melinda. We've got a lot lined up for you. Just wanted to go ahead and talk about today the 3 movies that a lot of people are talking about this month that are not The Matrix Resurrections and Spider-Man No Way Home. That is West Side Story, which is coming out to theaters this weekend, The Power of the Dog, and Don't Look Up, because all 3 of these movies are, I guess, the next tier of hit movies that are coming out and already have come out. We'll go ahead and talk about that coming up on the show. Lost in Space, and just like that, Lost in Space just ended its run after 3 seasons, and just like that, that is the sequel to Sex and the City. We'll talk about that briefly on the back end of the show. Squid Game. Time for some good news. Our series of good news for this month also wanted to go ahead and touch on Squid Game and its popularity. We'll talk about how Melinda and I may have jumped on the Squid Game bandwagon earlier than virtually everyone else. We'll talk
Stop.
about that on the back end of the show.
How exciting.
Yes, how exciting indeed. Plus, also as well, we've got Jeff Sloboda from the MCU's Bleeding Edge. He's going to be talking Hawkeye. He's going to be talking Spider-Man No Way Home. He's going to be talking about Spider-Man across the multiverse. Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse. He's going to be talking about a lot of great things in the MCU, and that's coming up on the back half of the show as well. But first, my friend, it is Hawkeye episode 4 that's now available on Disney Plus. We will be going into a little bit of spoilers out there. Some of it's not too surprising, especially if you've seen the movie Black Widow. But I know so far, I think it's been a very good series, to be honest with you. I think it's been one of the better series of the Disney Plus Marvel series. I enjoyed this week. It's a filler episode. And every Disney Marvel series has had a filler episode where it's just doing a lot of character building and a lot of exposition, a lot of storytelling before they get you set up for the final 2 action-packed episodes, because they're not going to really, they're not going to really do much of that in those last 2 episodes. You can tell already, because it's just going to be wall-to-wall action and, reveals and all that good stuff. But I wanted to go ahead and say that I thought this was a good filler episode, and I'm saying that in a positive way because of the fact you got to see more of the development of Hawkeye Clint Barton. And I really liked that aspect of it. You got to see how much of the years as a SHIELD operative and as an Avenger, the dark side of it, as far as, yes, you go ahead and save the universe, you go ahead and save the world, but you also take a lot of lives in doing so. And that you can see it. He shows, Jeremy Renner does a great job of showing how much it's eating away at him, this life that he's had.
Yeah, and I think every show, as we have learned from playing hours upon hours upon hours of D&D together, is that every once in a while you just need that shopping episode to
Have we played D&D together for hours?
Hours and hours, yeah,
Okay.
and hours.
Okay.
And hours, a lot. But it's good to have that. We call it a shopping episode, just where you get to go and just kind of mess around in town and get involved in some kind of hijinks and things like that. And it's a nice break for the characters. It's a nice break for the actors, I'm sure, to not have to be strapped into all of the contraptions that help you through car chases and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, as the episode accomplished, it's a great opportunity for us to get to know the characters a little bit more, give them a little bit more depth before we hit the floor running into a whole bunch more action.
And it allows you to see a little bit more of the relationship of Clint Barton and also Kate Bishop. Yeah. They bonded a lot more in this episode, and it proved to be something at the very end where he really starts to care about Kate Bishop and her safety.
Right.
Making a promise earlier in the episode to Kate Bishop's mom, and we'll get to Kate Bishop's mom in a sec here, but that he would not put her in harm's way. And wouldn't you know, at the very end, he does put her in harm's way.
Yeah.
So he realizes that, and he kind of tries to cut the ties with Kate Bishop in order to protect her, because at the very end, he finds out, well, we find out what the watch is all about. And with the watch, it's hinted on that They finally recover it in Echo's apartment. and that they go ahead and that they find out that the watch is most likely going to go ahead and reveal that it was part of Ronan's I guess uniform outfit, things of that nature that he was wearing, and he wore that watch, and the watch that was again not seen since episode 1 could tie into his family. So I think that's probably the reason why he's trying to get it back so desperately. So that's the reason why for the watch's importance from episode 1, and people were going like, where's what happened to the watch, what happened to the watch? So now we know why the watch is so important. We also know we also know more about the relationship again about Kate Barton and Clint Barton and Kate Bishop, especially the fact that now it came out during the conversation as you saw that darker side of Clint, and he got to tell Kate about the life he's lived as a superhero. It also comes through, and she figures it out that, hey, I know I think I know you're Ronan. I know you were Ronan during that period of time. So she wises up on the fact that he was Ronan during that 5-year stretch.
Right.
The only thing that bothers me is that,
Mhm.
okay, yes, in the beginning we do see Kate Bishop's mom, who's the head of a security firm, Bishop Security,
Right.
and her fiance Jack, who in the comics is going to be was the swordsman, who most likely be the swordsman because he handles the sword very nifty in this episode, not fighting wise, but holds it to Clint Barton right there. Didn't know who he was at the beginning, and then I guess later on the swords still play an important role later on, and possibly what we'll see the future from this Jack. We also find out that there's a direct tie-in between the Tracksuit Mafia and Jack. But the thing that bothers me, and that's the only thing that I think that's really stands out, is that by now Kate Bishop should or Clint Barton should have brought up that Kate Bishop's mom, okay, you're going to marry this guy and you don't know he's into all this bad stuff yet. I just figured out through the computer system, through the Bishop security system, which is owned by Kate Bishop's mother, that Jack, her fiance, is
Yes.
associated with the Tracksuit Mafia, which
Well,
is organized crime.
you
So
know,
that
denial
tells
isn't just a river in Egypt, okay?
okay. It does sounds like the denial. It is, and
Yeah.
it just seems like that they haven't brought this up. And I understand they're going to bring this up as a surprise, as a shocking thing. And we pretty much alluded to the fact that she is most likely going to play Madame Mask, Vera Farmiga's character. Kate Bishop's mom is going to play Madame Mask from the comics at some point in time. But by this point, you should go ahead and start suspecting things. And
Yes.
I think that should have been brought up at least in conversation. That's the only thing I think with this that's I have not seen. It's the only major flaw I've seen with Hawkeye so far. But overall, your experience with Hawkeye, I think again, this was a great filler episode because you got to see probably for the final time some real bonding and connection and
Mhm.
character building between the
Yeah.
two major characters. But your thoughts on Hawkeye so far, leading into the, I'm assuming, I'm assuming is a action-packed 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to assume that. And no, I for those people who were like, I don't know, Hawkeye series, I don't know if I'm gonna bother watching it. Shame on you. You should go and watch it because it's been great. I haven't seen anybody really have any huge problems with it. Nothing like that. Going through social media feeds and stuff, everybody seems to be pretty positive about it. So really, if you are looking for a way to maybe escape the family over the holidays, perhaps put a pin in Hawkeye and just go and binge it and then come back to the party and you'll be fine.
Well, what happens though if I try to say that and they know I've already seen the actual series?
You're just rewatching it to get those Easter eggs and to make sure that you covered everything that needed to be covered. This is work research for you, Gerald.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Good, good. I now know my outs at the Christmas
Yes,
party. There you
absolutely.
go. There you go, indeed. But it is Hawkeye. It is going to, I guess, at this point in time, get to a more interesting and action packed ending. But nonetheless, I think it's been a very good series so far. let me hear your thoughts on Hawkeye, and I want to hear your thoughts if you have any maybe big opinions on it. But I still will tell you what, it's been a great show so far. But if you have opinions on Hawkeye, please let us know. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, and tell us, do you have a favorite episode? How does the series match up to the other shows from the Marvel Disney universe? Please let us know. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's still much to talk about on today's show. And again, at the top half of the hour, at the back half of the hour, we will have our good friend, my good friend, Mr. Jeff Sloboda from the MCU's Bleeding Edge, talking Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. But before we hit to him, I want to go ahead and talk about 3 movies, which in different ways has debuted this week.
Mhm.
One of those movies, first off, is Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, which now is being released, as far as has been released to theaters nationwide here in the U.S. and in several parts of the world where it has not been banned, because it has been banned in several countries due to a character that a character that has, I'll read up more on the sec, but there's a character in the movie that certain countries have an issue with, and that's obviously something for us to get into if you want. But your thoughts on West Side Story? The reviews are extremely positive for Steven Spielberg's retelling of this fantastic story, this awesome awesome musical. And in a year where there's been a ton of musicals and not too many of them getting continued positive reviews, I want to hear your thoughts on West Side Story.
Personally, West Side Story, it's never been on my must-watch list. I have to be honest with you, Gerald.
Mm-hmm.
However, with that said, I do have a few friends, a couple of them, who are very much into musicals and who are very much looking forward to seeing this one. And I've had a couple try to talk me into going to the theater to see it, so I may end up there. And one of them is Margie, who plays Helen on Vampires and Vitae. She was talking about it last week during our 20-minute break during the
Mm-hmm.
live stream, and she was talking about how excited she was and all of that kind of stuff. So there's definitely an audience out there for this one. I think that having Spielberg as the director is, I mean, Spielberg is the director. There are people who don't like musicals who will go see it because he's the director.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he is named now as one of the few directors that does wield that kind of power, that does wield that kind of, okay, he's on the marquee. I better go ahead and check this out, because I'm going to say this. I don't know if everybody agrees with me, but I think he is the greatest director of all time. I think his resume, I think, just qualifies as that. The different genres he's dabbled into.
Yeah.
No, he hasn't dabbled into superhero movies, and that's something that I guess is maybe the last beacon of where he wants to go outside of a Western. So I know he wants to go into a Western and do a Western. He's talked about doing that. I don't think he'll ever do a superhero movie. So we'll see what happens there. But he has dabbled in almost every other kind of movie genre and exceeded expectations with many of them, and mastered some of the greatest films of all time. So I probably have to say he'll probably go down in history as the greatest director of all time.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I may end up at theaters to see this one. It won't be a self-initiated visit to the theater for this one. If I go, I'll be going to tag along with a friend to check out the movie. So it's not just because I'm not huge into musicals, and West Side Story, I don't really know a whole lot about it. So
There is the inclusion of a transgender character, which is the reason why several countries in the Middle East have banned the movie,
well, that's a
which
shame.
is something I know we've seen that already several times this
Yeah.
year. And as Hollywood movies and movies in general get more inclusive, we are still going to see a backlash like this going forward from countries in the Middle East, China, and certain countries overseas. They're just going to go ahead and do it. That's you have to go ahead and acknowledge that. But your thoughts on it? I mean, I think that diversity is the way to go. I think we should go ahead and represent the world as better and better and better. We should represent the world as in a much more clearer fashion, and be able to showcase everybody at some point in
Absolutely.
time,
Yeah.
that from all different walks of life, and to not to show others, and for others not to be able to see that on the screen because their country bans it. It's disappointing. You gotta understand it. You gotta say, hey, that's the way they're doing it. That's the way they're doing it. You wish that was different, but it is what it is. And I'm just glad that we're seeing the kind of diversity on the screen that we are.
Yeah, and it's even an improved version of diversity because we're not seeing people lean into those traditional stereotypes
Yeah,
so much, which I think is probably even more important than just making sure that your cast is diverse. Not leaning into those typical stereotypes that we've been seeing for generations at this point, and allowing characters to play as characters and not play as stereotypes, I think is something that we're finally seeing, and I'm applauding for that one.
yeah. And I know there's a controversy like earlier this year with Into the Heights, which didn't, I guess, to a lot of people in cancel culture out there, have enough diversity amongst the cast, because I think they were talking about certain parts of certain cultures that were not represented enough, and I understand, and I respect that. So I guess that's why that movie failed, even though it earned critical reviews, and one of the few other musicals that has earned critical reviews. I mean, there's only three movies I think in the musical genre that has earned any kind of praise out there. Maybe Tick Tick Boom with Andrew Garfield has also, maybe you could say that one as well. But Annette and West Side Story and also Into the Heights are the only four of these musicals. There's been a ton of musicals seemingly that have been released this year, and only a few of them have garnered any kind of critical praise. But I'll say this: West Side Story at least has a week before it gets destroyed by Spider-Man: No Way Home. I think if I
Yeah.
was Disney, or if I was the movie outlet that actually distributed this, I would have distributed this maybe like at Thanksgiving or maybe the week after, because there was a 2 week period of time where there was not really a whole lot out there. And
Right.
Encanto was just getting whatever was left of the audience at that point in time. And a West Side Story, maybe if it was released maybe a week earlier or 2 weeks earlier, maybe it could have garnered a larger audience, because with Spider-Man No Way Home and then The Matrix Resurrections coming right after it,
Yeah.
I don't see much of an audience after its initial week for West Side Story. Maybe
Well,
actually in its second week, but after that, I don't see much.
sure. And this could also be a bit of a, and I'm sure I'm going to use this term incorrectly. It could be a bit of a litmus test to find out how the to kind of take the temperature on superhero fatigue. Maybe they're hoping that perhaps people are a little bit tired of going to the movie to see another superhero movie, and maybe they will decide to go see this musical instead, or something along those lines. Maybe that's a little bit of their thinking. I don't know, but it's a pretty serious gamble, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is a pretty serious gamble, but we'll see what happens. It is West Side Story. It is now out in theaters. It's being released worldwide, except for the countries that it's been banned in due to its transgender character that's in the movie. If you have thoughts on West Side Story, and are you heading to the movies to go check out West Side Story, which is getting a very strong rating right now on Metacritic, it has an 87, which is really, really good. So if you have any thoughts on West Side Story from Steven Spielberg, please share us your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, there's still much more to talk about right now. I want to go ahead and ask you this. You don't look up. Don't look up is not yet out on Netflix, but it is out in limited theater runs. It's going to start that Oscar push, even
Right.
though it's not even getting the kind of attention and from critical praise that I was thinking, that it's all-star cast plus Adam McKay, who has been highly nominated before in the past as a director, Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got so many different actors that are in there. Jonah Hill. You've got so many different actors that are part of this. And unfortunately, the Don't Look Up movie, it's doing okay so far with critics, but it's just not where it needs to be, I think. Jennifer Lawrence is in this. I mean, you've got an all-star cast. All I say is, What happened with Don't Look Up?
Well, I mean, just some of the reviews that I'm seeing. Don't Look Up review. Armageddon in the age of idiocracy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's got a 51 on
A
Metacritic,
scathing,
which is like right
yeah,
there. It's not That's not great. So,
a scathing satire that occasionally veers off course. Ooh, that's tough.
yeah.
That's a tough one. Oh my gosh.
I mean, a lot of it's satirical in its nature from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Could it take much fun? It could have poked too much fun at itself.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just yeah, the reviews there that I was just scrolling through, not looking good for that one.
Yeah, not looking good for it. At least it's not going to get a lot of Oscar buzz behind it, even though it has such a star-studded cast. And I know it was
Yeah.
very expensive. I know the contracts involved and the price tag Netflix had to pay to go ahead and get this movie made, because you've got so many of these Oscar, worthy actors in there. You got Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Blanchett, you got Rob Morgan, you've got Jonah Hill, you got Meryl Streep in there. I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh, you've
Yeah,
got
it
so
doesn't
many great actors and actresses
yeah.
a part of this. And it's a shame, you've got even the director, Adam McKay, who's done great things already as a director. It looks like it's just one of those situations where, unfortunately, whatever happened, it didn't happen well enough. So,
Yeah.
Don't Look Up is coming to Netflix later on Christmas, but right now it's out and available in limited fashion in theaters. So if you're going to check out Don't Look Up now. But Don't Look Up is still is at theaters and will soon be on Netflix. So please check it out. And if you have any thoughts on it, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But before we hit the break, Melinda, speaking of Netflix, their number one movie right now is with Benedict Cumberbatch. And no, it isn't Doctor Strange. It's something that a lot of people are interested in and most likely will get a lot of advance notice and advance acclaim, because it is the number one movie on Netflix and it is getting a lot of Oscar buzz. And that is The Power of the Dog. So I want to hear your thoughts on The Power of the Dog. This is a Western type deal. And what's funny is that the supporting characters should be very familiar. Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, who happen to be married in real life. They
Oh,
happen to not only get into a movie that features them as supporting characters, to Benedict Cumberbatch, but they're in a movie that is now listed as an 88 on Metacritic and could be a frontrunner for the Oscars.
sure. I mean, are we seeing people trying to bring westerns back? Is that what's happening this year?
Well,
Or for
it's like a vicious cycle. It comes back around, okay, and then people start leaving it. They get tired of westerns, and they just comes back. Or sci-fi movies, maybe sci-fi movies will go just dormant for a while, and then people want to come back and circle back to sci-fis. And I'm sure that will happen eventually for superhero movies. Maybe not this decade, but at some point in time, people will get tired of superhero movies, just like they did in the early 2000s after the. I know what Robbie was saying about Daredevil and Elektra and all that, but there
yeah.
were so many bad superhero movies in the early part of the 2000s that it took Batman Begins and Batman, obviously what went on with the Batman movies of the mid 2000s with Jonathan Nolan directing. They took that to really spark the genre back up, because right at the beginning of the century you had so many bad superhero movies. So it was like, superhero movies are not really the way to go. So you saw Hollywood circle around. I mean, it's just with all these genres, rom-coms were something that
Yeah.
were a part of the early 2000s, which almost died a horrible death in the last decade. I have a feeling they'll come back around. I mean, I think all these genres are really going to go ahead and do a cycle, but The Power of the Dog is getting a lot of acclaim. Benedict Cumberbatch is getting a lot of acclaim. I really think that this is a good sign. It's very popular on Netflix. In fact, it was trending at number one for the movies, as the number one property on Netflix. It surpassed for the time being, the Red Notice, which is the all-time Netflix leader for views. So I want to hear your thoughts on The Power of the Dog before we hit to the break.
Yeah, no, give me a western, and first of all, I'm going to watch it because I believe I don't. Well, okay. hang on a second. Let me back up before I say something that I'm going to get myself painted into a corner for. But I
I'm
enjoy
just
it.
painting yourself into a
Yeah.
corner right now.
Right? Yeah. Watch my feet. Watch my feet. Um, but no, I enjoy Western, and I am excited to see Benedict Cumberbatch in a Western. I think that that's going to be really interesting. And I I will watch this movie, and I will probably watch it. I want to say sometime between now and Sunday. I don't know what my timetable looks like for my TV viewing for the rest of the week, but I know she's pretty full. I feel
Mhm.
like there's a lot I need to get caught up on, but um yeah, I always have time to watch a Western. Even bad ones to me are still kind of good. Perhaps that's a little bit of nostalgia, watching movies with my dad or whatever when I was a kid. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, if at the very start of a little bit of a Western revival, I'm here for it. I'm okay with it.
That's good because, again, I think a lot of people are okay for it too because we're now seeing a lot of people getting behind the Power of the Dog and its power on Netflix as the
Yeah,
number one trending movie on Netflix, surpassing Red Notice as the current number one, not the all time number one, because that Red Notice just passed that up last week as the
right.
all time viewed movie. I actually got a chance to see Red Notice. It is not as bad as the 37 Metascore that it currently has. I think it is. I was surprised. Actually, when I'm saying it, I'm surprised that the movie is not as bad as the 37 that is the current average on Metacritic. That says something. Now, mind you, I would put it at around a 50 personally, if that
Sure.
was the case. But it is watchable, which is more than I could say for some of the movies that we'll be talking about, I'm sure, later on this month as the best and worst of 2021 comes up for us. But yes, it's something that I think, okay, it's time filler. It's a cheesy popcorn flick, and there you go, catch it. But it is Red Notice. That's out on Netflix as well. But do you have thoughts out there on Red Notice? Don't Look Up, which is coming out later to Netflix this month, but it's available in theaters now. West Side Story and The Power of the Dog. Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, coming up after the break, it is Jeff Sloboda from the MCU's Bleeding Edge. He's going to be talking lots of Marvel. So if you're not if you're into superheroes, he's going to be getting you up to speed on his thoughts on Hawkeye, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man No Way Home, and so much more. It is Jeff Sloboda from the MCU's Bleeding Edge coming up after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the shows at PCC Multiverse. Want to thank Jeff Sloboda so much from the MCU's Bleeding Edge for stopping by on the program. Melinda and I have got a little bit more to talk about on today's show. Again, if you're interested in the winners for the Game Awards, we'll have the list of winners that it's available, or that who won the Game Awards. That will be available on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. Also, check out Josh's thoughts on Halo Infinite. That's coming up on the Monday show, the Pop Culture Cosmos. So I'm looking forward to that, amongst other pop culture topics. But before we head on out, Melinda, I wanted to ask you this. Was Sex and the City ever popular with you on HBO?
I was not a super fan of it.
Okay.
I found Carrie to be, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Please don't at me because I don't want to get into a Twitter fight about Sex in the City. Like, please don't. But I found Carrie to be obnoxious. I found her to be whiny. I don't know. There was just something about the
Well,
show
you
that
and
I,
Kim Cattrall in real life. I'll
yeah.
just say that.
And she's also Canadian, so maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
Maybe there is.
But yeah, it was never my must-watch show. Sure, because of popular culture, and it was the buzz show that everybody was talking about. And at the time, I was working in traditional broadcasting, so I had to at least be somewhat knowledgeable of the show. So big, driving away at the wedding or not showing up. I can't remember now which way it happened, but the feather and the dress and all of that people freaked out about. I didn't get that. I thought it was awful, but I digress. Will I catch an episode or two of this? Sure, I'll pop in to see what's going on. Do I plan on watching the entire thing? No, but I may tune in and be pleasantly surprised. There might be something more appealing about an older version of all of those characters versus, being young and single and running around New York City. I don't know. But I will definitely give it at least 2 episodes. I try to give everything at least 3 episodes, and if I can get through 2 and I'm still enjoying it, it will at least get the 3rd episode. I don't know that I'm gonna watch the whole thing, though.
Well, the sequel, or the spiritual sequel, or whatever you want to call it, is called And Just Like That. It
Yeah.
features 3 of the 4
Yes.
famous ladies from Sex and the City, plus Mr. Big, Chris
Yes.
Noth. He's back in it again. But the the character I think that garnered a lot of the attention. I know Sarah Jessica Parker's character is just, she's obviously the lead, and everybody was following her lead and everything of that nature. But
Yeah.
to not have Kim Cattrall's character in there,
Yeah.
because the real life feud that she
Yeah.
has with Sarah Jessica Parker, which is very sad to see, by the way, and I'm very disappointed because the fact that I think that this show clicks when all 4 ladies are in there. And I think part of the reason why that this show is not garnering the positive reviews, or enough of the positive reviews that are out there for it, because it's right now very mixed when you check it out on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes and all that stuff, is the fact that Kim Cattrall's presence is not there. It's just Kim Cattrall casts a shadow over the entire series by her not being there because of the feud, the real life feud that she has with Sarah Jessica Parker. I think that, to me, that is a big issue why this show may or may not succeed. I think if people are not able to get by the fact that she's not there, I think this show will have a hard time in succeeding for any length of time.
Yeah, she brought a level of spiciness to the show that was entertaining and endearing and saucy all at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is going to be a piece of the magic sauce that was Sex in the City that will be missing. And it really is too bad when you see finally some and I'm going to assume positive representation of older ladies on television. And it's too bad that in real life those women couldn't pull themselves together to be able to work with each other again.
Well, I don't know if you can relate to that, because Rob said you just turned 22 earlier this week.
Yeah.
I would say normally 21, but you host a couple of RPG games based on alcoholic drinks, so you had to age you a year. So
yeah, yes, I appreciate that, because one wouldn't want to get in trouble for drinking underage now, would one?
yes, especially on Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos.
Right. Yeah, but no, I think that this opportunity to see more women, I guess, women of a certain age on television in interesting and I want to say realistic, but I don't know yet because I haven't seen it. But and remember too, with all this entertainment stuff, they often take things and then they turn them up a little bit. So it's not going to be, Miranda as an older lady just being Miranda. There's going to be a little bit of a turn up on something, whether it's, I don't know, she wears silly socks to bed now, or she can't go through a night without getting up to go to the bathroom, or, any of those complaints that we all have as we age. It'll be interesting to see how much of that is brought into the show and how much of it they just kind of gloss over. And
I sure hope they bring, I sure hope Kim Cattrall maybe kind of reconciles with Sarah Jessica Parker and maybe decides to come back. I know she just signed on to another series, but
right,
my gosh, this series, I don't know if it'll continue without her. I mean, I think it just casts such a big shadow. It might succeed, and I wish it all the best of luck, but I don't know. That's a hard and tall thing to ask, as far as having such a memorable character not be part of the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It was like when Jerry left the Spice Girls. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah. There you go. Great analogy indeed. But it is, And Just Like That. Are you going to be catching And Just Like That on HBO Max? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Speaking of Netflix, as we did earlier in the show, wanted to go ahead and give a shout out to something that a lot of individuals out there under the radar, so to speak, have been reaping some good praise on, and that's the ending season of Lost in Space, which never really hit the heights I think that it wanted to, even in its first season, because the first season got a lot of hype, and actually we hyped it a lot on this show way back when. but unfortunately, it just never reached, I think, the kind of numbers that Netflix wanted to. But they let the series play out to 3 seasons, and it just ended, and people are able to go ahead and check out the season in its entirety on Netflix. But your thoughts on Lost in Space? I know it's something that a lot of people started watching and then just kind of got off on. It just didn't seem to stay with viewers. But your thoughts on Lost in Space as we
Yeah, I
write an
was
epitaph for this show?
yeah, I was definitely one of those people. I watched the first season and then the second season came out and I was just busy watching other things and I never went back to it. I now in retrospect, I plan on going back and catching the second season, which means I'm probably going to have to go back and start from the very beginning. But that's maybe that's another opportunity for you to avoid family over the holidays. Sorry, I'm catching up on Lost in Space.
There you
Let's talk
go.
about what's important here. That's probably going to be a little bit of what I do. There's 4 whole days where I have nothing to do over the holidays, and I plan on packing in some pretty quality TV time.
Oh my gosh, what will you and Robbie Ross do? I'm
I
not sure.
I
I'm
don't
not sure.
know. We're sitting around and staring at each other with nothing to do. It's going to be really weird.
There's a lot I could say there, but I won't. But it is Lost in Space. It has ended its series after 3 seasons, but the third season is now available on Netflix. And if you have thoughts, please let us know. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, Melinda, it's been a great show. I cannot thank you enough for stopping by. But before we head on out, I want to lead a show. In fact, this month, we've been trying to go ahead on our show, going ahead and make sure everybody knows about some good news. Before, because we don't have enough good news in our lives. But
Sure.
good news for 2021 is something that came out of left field that really surprised us. And last week we talked about the Marvel shows being of great quality, being of quality that I think that we weren't sure we were going to get, and ultimately
Mhm.
were pleasantly surprised upon with several of the series that have done really well and I think have exceeded our expectations as a whole and have been really qualified to go ahead and be part of the MCU in its entirety. This week, I want to talk about a worldwide sensation that came out of left field. And I will say, for a country that in recent years, its entertainment value has just grown exponentially with the success of K pop,
Yes.
BTS
Mhm.
has been incredible. And I have to say, I have nothing but to say but good things for about BTS as far as their success and wish them continued success. I know their fan base is a very rabid bunch and they just really support it. And that's great to see. Paradise, which won the Best Picture, which was truly a great film, was one of my best films the year it came out. So I cannot say enough good things about Parasite. And if you get a chance to see Parasite, I highly recommend it because it is a very, I guess, it's a very sometimes chilling, sometimes thrilling, but always very entertaining movie. But this country, South Korea, has created another huge entertainment property, and it just got announced today that Squid Game is the most tweeted about entertainment property of 2021. And not only that, it's the most watched property,
Yeah.
even above Red Notice on Netflix. It's been, I think I stopped counting it well over 150 million views. Different viewers, unique viewers have watched some part of the Squid Game. This has been a success story like no other. And you and I actually caught on to the train. Remember when I started talking about it? And I remember
Mhm.
when I sent you that message, I think I sent you a PM late at night. I said, hey, check up on the Squid Game.
Hang
You
on a
got to
second.
go ahead and check up
Let
on
me
the
go back.
Squid Game
Hold
because I
on.
think it's well worth watching.
Yeah.
I really got into it. I think what it shows and it showcases, it's really some good dark themes about us as humanity, about
Mhm.
light and dark. I know the properties that are out there that you can go ahead and get the Squid Game T-shirts and the Squid Game costumes and all the stuff right now because they finally were able to hit the store shelves. And I see them when I go into certain retail stores. You see the Christmas sweaters, but then you see the Squid Game shirts right next to it. I want to
Yes.
hear your thoughts on Squid Game and how it has just captivated our attention worldwide.
Yeah, it really has, and it's I think that there are a number of elements in this unbelievable show that we all have a level of relation to. I think that We all understand debt. We all understand debt perhaps getting a little bit out of control and getting us into trouble. Perhaps Squid Games could be, well, no, I don't want to go too far into that because I don't want to suddenly be facing an audit. But, um, I think,
That's the IRS right there at your door.
yeah, right.
Melinda.
But yeah, no, I think that Squid Games was one of those. Oh my god, I hope that this never actually happens. I hope that this is as far away from reality as it could possibly get. But at the same time, could I get through it? Could I do it? I think is a question that is just kind of left hanging uncomfortably in the middle of the room when you're watching that show.
I just see that I can just relive that first real big scene where you find out exactly what's going on, and the death that happens in that first area with
Yeah.
so many people dying. And I could just see you and Robbie Ross, your husband, who's been on the show, standing next to each other, and then they giving the announcement and all that. And I could just see as the gunfire started happening, you pushing him into the fray. You're on your own, buddy. You're on your own.
Not in a million years. Oh,
Okay,
come on
okay,
now.
okay.
No,
It's
we
all
like
about
each
the
other.
money. It's all about the money. Sorry, honey.
No,
No,
we
I'm
like
kidding.
each other
I'm
way
kidding.
too much for that to be a thing. But
I'm kidding.
um,
I'm kidding.
yeah, no, I see. I would have handed him the lighter to light the needle to be able to scratch out the honeycomb shape.
Okay. Okay.
See,
All right. Now,
that's a
now I
little
see
bit
where it's
more.
going with this.
Yes.
Okay. It's all about the cash. It's all about the cash. But what if it's down to you two on the Squid Game and the millions?
We would just agree that we were done playing because that was an option the whole time.
Yeah, but then you won't get the millions.
That's okay.
Oh, that's so
It's okay.
sweet. That's so
Aw,
sweet.
aw.
Yes.
We'll work with our creditors to try to straighten out the situation.
Okay. All right. All right, we'll see how it is. Say that's it's nice to see that what $70 million or tens of millions of dollars does not come between you and your husband. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
his opinion might be different. I don't know, but maybe I should find that out before we sign up for a game.
Maybe you should. Maybe you
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
But it is some good news this year as the worldwide phenomenon Squid Game just killed it on Netflix worldwide, and I'm looking forward to a season 2 of Squid Game because they got to do it now.
Yes.
Netflix is just like writing a blank check saying you got to go ahead and produce it now. But
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But it is good news with Squid Game. If you have final thoughts this year on Squid Game and how it captivated the world, if you can't stand Squid Game, if you enjoyed Squid Game, please, either which way you want to hear your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Want to go ahead and make mention to everyone out there. Again, you can follow us anytime at all at Pop Culture Cosmo on Twitter. You can go ahead and reach out to us at any point in time on Facebook. We're on TikTok. Of course, we are the number one tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook. So check out all of our amazing games. And I want to give a big shout out to our constant emailer, a guy who sends us a ton of emails, and we truly appreciate every single one of them. I'll tell you what, Will Lemon, Bill Lemon, Bill Lemond, as he likes to say, Bill Lemond, wanted to go ahead and tell him thank you very much, Bill Lemond. If you want to go ahead and just send us out more emails by all means, but please, I want to go ahead and thank everyone out there for sending all the great stuff that they do, all the compliments, all the great things that they say about us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But Melinda, it's been a great show. I cannot thank you enough as always. Any last thoughts on the way out?
If you haven't watched Squid Games, do that. If you're looking for like the anti-Christmas feels, Squid Games is gonna work. How's that for a pitch? I don't know.
Okay. I'm just in awe right
You're
now.
stunned silence. I'm sorry. No, if you haven't watched Squid Games, do give that one a shot. It is as good as everybody says that it is. And don't let the extreme amounts of violence deter you from the show, because while it is quite violent, I think it also does show incredible moments of humanity in the show as well. So, right there is reason enough to watch.
Very much agreed. And also understanding that there is no amount of money that will separate the lovebirds known as Melinda and Rob. Indeed. least I'm hoping there's no amount.
I mean, once you start getting up to the $100 million mark, I don't know, maybe, but 70 million, nah, I'm good.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We now know the price limit.
Yeah.
Rob, watch your back. Watch your
Yeah,
back,
right.
man. Watch your back.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, sure you are.
Don't tell him.
Okay. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.
You're getting me into so much trouble.
Don't I always?